Thank you, audiences.
Albert
Thank
Einstein.
you, all the peoples and
Albert Einstein was
the
born
persons and
on
respected
14 March
ones
1879,
of Lal Bahadur Shastri
Kingdom of
National
the
Academy of
Weimar
Administrations.
German Empire.
Especially thanks
Died
for the
18 April
organizer and participators
1955.
who were gained new
Residence
strength
it was
in speaking
he
capability
had a lot of
and devotee
residence
to
area
God.
like Germany,
It is
Italy,
our duty
Switzerland,
to
Austria,
render to mankind,
and many other
and
part of India.
we have to upgrade our life by go through,
Notable award,
by read
various type of the award
and
he was
absolve the
awarded,
mentality
and he is known
and
for general relativity,
strengthening
special
of a
relativity,
great
photoelectric
scientist
effect equal
and
to mc
great
square theory,
persons
theory of the
of world.
Brownian motions, Einstein field equations,
Today I
Bose-Einstein
discussed
statistic,
in front
Bose-Einstein
of you
condensate, gravitational wave,
the great
cosmological
scientist
constant, unifying field
Werner
theory,
Karl
ERP paradox,
Heisenberg,
etc.
who was born
He
5
is known
December
for general relativity, special
1901.
relativity,
Werner,
photoelectric effect
kingdom
equal
of
to
the
mc square,
Brownian
theory of the
German
Brownian
empires,
motion,
and
Einstein
he was
field
died in
equations,
1st
Bose-Einstein
February
statistic,
1976 at
Bose-Einstein
the age of the
condensate,
74.
gravitational wave,
He
cosmological
moved
constant,
Berlin,
unified
West
field
German.
theory, ERP paradox, etc.
He
Influence
is
on the
known
ERG
for his
Strauss,
great achievement
Nathan
and
Rosen's
success
Leo
for the
centered, etc.
uncertainty principle.
Albert Einstein in the
Heisenberg curve.
Germany. He was born
Heisenberg
in the
can
14
anyway
March
to
1879.
matrix the mechanics.
18 April
Heisenberg
1955 was
ferromagnetics.
German-born theoretical
Heisenberg
physicist.
group.
He
Heisenberg
developed the
limit.
German
Heisenberg
general theory of the relativity,
microscope.
one of the two
Heisenberg
pillars of
model.
the modern physics.
Heisenberg models of quantum
Einstein's
and
work is also
classical
known for
both.
his influence on
Heisenberg
this
picture.
philosophical science. Einstein
Isostatic
is best known
matrix
for his popular
mechanics.
culture
Linear
for the mass
Heisenberg
energy equivalence
Lagrangian
formula
theorem.
equal to mc
Formula
square,
of the
which has been
bootstrap model.
doubted in
C
this most
algebra
world
and
most
sense of
famous
this.
equations.
Exchange
He is
interactions.
received in this
Mode problems.
1921
Quantum
Nobel Prize in the physics for
fluctuations.
his several
Resonance
service
chemistry
theoretical
and
physics,
S
in
matrix.
particular
S
in the
matrix
discovery
theory.
of the law
Nova
of
tokens.
photoelectric
Carl
effect, in the
Friedrich
pivotal
and
step
another.
in this evolution of
He
quantum
was
theory.
the father
Near
of the
this beginning in this career,
neurobiologist Martin
Einstein thought
Heisenberg
that
and the
Newtonian
son of
mechanics was
August
no longer
Heisenberg.
enough for the reconcile
Werner
laws and
Heisenberg
classical mechanics
was
with these
born in
laws of the
5 December
electromagnetic field.
1901
This led to the
and
development of
died
the
in the
special
1st
theory of the
February
relativity. He realized,
1976, one
however, that
German
the
theoretical
principle of the
physicist and
relativity
one
could
of the key
also be
pioneers
extended
of
to
quantum
gravitational field,
mechanics.
and with the
He
subsequent
published
theory of the
his theory
gravitational
and work
1916,
in
and he published a
1925
paper
in a
on the general
breakthrough
relativity.
paper in the
He continued to the
subsequent
deal with the
series of
problem
papers
of
with
the
Max
statistical
Born and
mechanics
this
and quantum
Pascual
theory,
Jordan.
which led to
Within the
his
same year, the
explanation to the
matrix
particle
formulation of
theory
the
and the
quantum
motion
mechanics
of the molecular.
was formulated.
He also investigated
Subsequently
the thermal
elaborated.
properties of
In
light, which laid
1927,
the
he published
foundations of
his
the photons theory of the light.
uncertainty
In
principle, upon which he
1917,
built his
Einstein applied to the
PhD
general
and for
theory of the
which he is
relativity to
best
the
known.
model to the large-scale structure of the
Heisenberg was
universe.
awarded
He was
in
visited
the
the
Nobel
United
Prize in
States when
Physics
this
for the
Adolf Hitler come to the
1932
power
for
in
the creation of the quantum
1933, and this
mechanics.
being
He
Jewish,
also
do not go
made
back to this
important
Germany, where he
contributions
had
to
been
his theory
professor
of
at British Berlin
hydrodynamics
University of the
and
Academy of the
abundant flow.
Sciences, settled in the US,
The
becoming
atomic
the American
nucleus and
citizens in the 1940.
ferromagnetisms,
In the
cosmic
eve
ray,
of the
and
World War II, he
subatomic
endorsed
particle.
the
He
later
was
President Franklin
instrumental
D.
in the
Roosevelt,
planning the first
alerting
West
him to this
German
potential
nuclear
development
reactor
of the
in
extremely
the
powerful bombs and
Karlsberg,
this new types of the recommending
together
that the
with the
US begin the
research
similar
reactor
research.
in the
This
Munich
eventually
in
led to the what would
1937.
become this
He
Manhattan
was the
Project.
principal scientist in the
Manhattan
German
Project,
nuclear
Einstein
energy
supporting this
project during the
defending these
World
allied
War
forces,
II,
but the
and he
largely
traveled to the
disannounced the
occupied
idea of using
country
the
and
newly
James, where
discovered
he was
nuclear fissions
infamously
as a
briefed.
weapon. Later, with
This
the British
discussed and
philosophy,
German
Berlin
project to
Russell Einstein signed
Niels
this
Bohr. He
Russell-Einstein
was
Manifesto,
also
which
a
highlighted
great
this
scientist.
danger
Following this
and the
meeting,
nuclear
Bohr
weapon.
spilled
Einstein was
to
affiliated
Niels,
with the
disclosing
institution
the
for
secrets
this
about the
advanced
program.
study and the principle of
During
the
the
New
World War
Jersey
II, he
United
was
of
appointed
until
director
his
to
death
the
in
Spencer
1955.
Walmer
Einstein
Institutions for
published this more
Physics,
than 300
which
scientific papers
soon
along with this
thereafter was
150
renamed to the
non-scientific
Max
work.
Planck
On the
Institution
5th
for
December
Physics. He was
2014, University and the
director
archive
for
announced
the
the release of the
institution
Einstein
until it
papers
was moved to
comprising
the
more than the
Munich in
30,000 unique
1958,
documents.
where it was
Einstein's
expanded and
intellectual
renamed the
achievement of the
Max Planck
originally have to
Institution for
met the world
Physics and
Einstein
Astrophysics.
synonymously with genius.
Heisenberg was also a president of the German
In the
Researchers Council, chairman of
biography
the
of this
Commission of the
Einstein's
Atomic Physics, and
1991,
chairperson of
what he
Nuclear
did
Physics
and
Working
after
Group
that,
and the
early life and
president of
educations.
Alexander and Von Komplon
Albert
Foundations.
Einstein was born in this ULM,
He
in this
was a
kingdom of this water
maximum
world,
career
in this German
foundations
empire,
from
14 March
1924 to
1879.
1927.
His
Heisenberg
parents
was
was
in private
Humboldt Einstein,
and from
salesman
17
and
September
engineer,
1924
Napoleon
to the
coach.
1st May
In
1922 under the
1880, the
International
family moved to
Education
this
Board,
Munich,
Rock
where
Tucker
Einstein's
Foundation
father and
Fellowship.
his
The
uncle
Heisenberg
Jacob founded the electrostatic
For his
cities
creations,
companies
is
that
the
manufacture
mailbox,
electrical
director of the
equipment
institution
based on
of
the direct
theoretical physics
current.
of the University of the
The
Comprehensions. His
Einstein were
seminal papers give
non-observable,
account of physics.
and they
Also said
observed
that published
Albert
in the
attended
September
this
1925,
Catholic
he
elementary
returned to
schools
the
in this Munich
Switzerland
from
with
this
his
age
next-born and
of
thus
5 in these
over the
3
period
years.
of the
At
6
least
months
age of the
developed
8
his
he was
matrix of the
transferred to
mechanism
this
of revolution in quantum
Germany is
mechanics
known
in
for
his
age
university
where
in
he was received
1926.
advanced primary and the
Heisenberg began
secondary
his
school
appointment
education
at
until they left
university
the German
lecturer
Empire
and
7 years
assisted with his
later. In
course
this
in the
1894,
comprehension. It was this
Hauptmann Jacob
comprehensions
Company
in
lost a bit of the
1927
supply of the
that
city of the
Heisenberg
Munich which
developed his
electrically
uncertainty
lightning because
principle
they lacked the
while working on the
cocktail
mathematical
of a
foundations of a
converters
quantum mechanics in
equipment from the
23rd
direct
February.
current DC
Heisenberg wrote a
standard to
letter
this
to the
more
fellow
efficient
of the
alternative
physicist
current
world known
standard
theory,
lost
in
phases of the
which he
cell and
first
Munich factory.
described his
In
new
such
principle.
business, this
In his
Einstein
paper
family
on the
moved to Italy
uncertainty
first to this
principle,
Milan, and few months
Heisenberg
later,
used a
when this family moved to this
world
Pavia,
of
Einstein stayed with this
in
Munich to
this
this finish
1927,
his studies
Heisenberg
and
was
this
appointed
Leopard
this old
German
Zurich
site. His
professors
father
and
intended for
appointed
him to the
his head
pursue
of
the
this
electrical
department.
engineer, but the Einstein clashes with his authorities and the resented the school's regimes
1st
and
February
teaching method. He
1928.
later
It
wrote
was
that
his
the
first
spirit of the
papers
learning
published
and the
from the
creative
sling
thoughts
beams.
was lost of
Heisenberg
the
used a
string
fully
wrote
exclusion
and the
principle
root
to
of the
solve
learning. At the
chemistry
end of
and
the December
nebulosus.
1894, he traveling to the Italy to join his family of this Pavia, conceived the study and schools let him go by the using doctor's note. During his time in the Italy, he wrote the short essay in the title on the investigations of the state of this other and this magnetic field. In 1895, at the age of the 16, Einstein said the entrance examination for the Swiss Federal Polytechnic juries. Later, this he was said he failed to reach this required standard general part of examination, but obtaining this exceptional grade in physics and mathematics. On the advice of the principal and
Heisenberg believed
polytechnics, he
that the
attended
refuge and the quality of the
the
whole
American
student
colonial
postgraduate
schools of
research
Vernia,
associated with his
Switzerland
studies
in
and
this
work with Heisenberg began
1895 to
his effort. As
96 to
stated
complete
by
his
his
secondary
claim
school.
that earned by
While
his pupils
logging
and
with his
failure
family
faculties.
professors,
They
lost
include this
Winger, he
Heinrich
fell in love
Berger
with
and
Winger daughters,
also
Mary,
said in
Albert sisters, while
1927
later
Heisenberg and the
married
theory
Winger's
submitted
son
the
Paul.
first two papers leaving this
In January
fundamental type the
1896,
relativistic
with
theories
his father's
and
approval,
also
Einstein
a
renounced his
theoretical
citizenship in
success.
the German kingdom of the
One term theory also
Waterberg
in this
and avoided
1927,
military
Heisenberg called to the
service. In the
lecture
September
hall in this
1896,
China,
he possessed the
Czechoslovakia
Swiss
and the
Merida
United
with his
States.
mostly good
Shortly
of the
after
grades
that
and
is
including the
probably
top
end the
grade
new
of
phone
6 physics in the
by James
mathematical
Chambers
subject. On the
1829
scale of 1 to
1932.
6, thought
Heisenberg
the
submitted
17,
his
he
first
enrolled
of
the
the three
4-year
papers for
mathematics and physical
analytical program
technical
modules
diploma
of this
programs in
colleges.
Tunis
He was awarded
Polytechnic,
this
Marine Winder
1932 Nobel
movement of
Prize
the
in
Ostelman
Physics.
and
In
Switzerland for the
1928, the
teaching
British
post.
mathematical physics
Einstein
IAM
future
proposed
life.
a higher
Mel V.
directive
Mary
for
also
the
enrolled
realistic
this
formulation
polytechnic that
of
year.
the quantum mechanics, which implies
She
the
was the
existence
only
of a
woman among the
theoretical
6 students
universe.
in the
Later, he
mathematics and
moved to
physics
astronomy
section
in
of the teaching
1932
diploma
from his
courses.
South Chambers photographic
Over
microscope
next
space.
few years,
The
Einstein and
American
this Mary
physicist found
friendship
that the
developed
energy
into this
inside the higher
romance.
track
They
is heavy
wrote
made
put
by a
together the
electron.
extracurricular
In
physics in
1933, the
which
Heisenberg
Einstein
presented
was
the
taken
theory
the
and the
increasing
consequences
interest. In
theory
this
and the
19,
directives theory of the further
Einstein was
development of the
awarded
theory that
Zurich
was set
Polytechnic
forth
teaching
for the two
diploma,
papers.
but this
In the
Merrick
first,
failed to
this
examination with his poor
anchor
grade in the
and
mathematics
theory
component.
of
Theory of
another
these functions.
idea. The
There have been
directions of
claimed that
theory
the metric
transpositors
collaborated
that
with
were published
Einstein
in
on his
1936. It was
celebrated
these papers.
1905
Heisenberg
papers.
was the first of
But
his group to present the
historians of this
directives
physics
and
have been
classical
studying the issues
theorization
find
for
to no
participation
evidence
in
that
the
she
use
made
of
any
H by 2.
substantives of
The itself
contributions.
subject to the quantization condition
The
involving the
discovery of
empty
the
computer
publication in
or the dream repertoires quantum
1987 of the early
theoreticals
corresponding
separately
between this
describing the
Einstein and the
electrons.
Mary
Heisenberg put
developed
later
and
on
the
the
reliable
emphasis
to
putting
this
the electrical
her
analysis
that
as being
daughters called
described
this
by relativistic
pleasure
quantum
in these
theoreticians,
systems.
which followed the
Nobby said
possibility
this
of the
Mary was
partitions
staying with
creating the
her parents and
disturbance
this
of
Mary returned to the
harmonious
Switzerland
described
without a
in this
child,
1929
whose
letter
real
to
name
the Einstein.
and this fate of
In the
known. Einstein
1930s, the
probably
German
never saw his
physicist
daughter.
Felix
The
Maymann wrote
content of this
anti-Semitic
letter,
and the
Mary September
anti-theory of
1903,
physics
suggested
touching
the girl
including this
was
quantum
either
mechanics and the
adopted
theory
or
of the
died in
relativity.
the
Heisenberg in the
scarlet fever
University of
in the
Pennsylvania.
infancy.
Political factors
Einstein is
proved the
Mary
priority
married
over
in
the
this
extremely
January
applied
1903 and
concept
this
of the
May
solar
of this
ability, even
1904.
though
Their
its
first
two
son
most
Hans Enwald
prominent
Einstein was
supporters were
born
the
Bern,
Nobel Prize
Switzerland. Their
winners
second son Edu
Friedman
born
and
Zurich in this
Stock.
July 1910.
After
In the
Adolf
April,
Hitler come
they
to the
moved
power
in
in the
this Berlin.
1933,
After a
Heisenberg was
few
attacked
months,
in
his
this
wife
course of
returned
this
to the
white
Zurich
chair.
in
The
her
remnant
son.
of
After
this
learning Einstein's chief
Trotskyist
romantic
and the
attractions
movement
was
of
in
the
the first and the
influences on
second
the physicists
causing
was the
Ila,
role of
they
the solar
divorced on this 14th February 1919, having a living part alive apart and 5 years. Edward, whom his father called the Terry, had broken his age of the 20, and this disgust of this sister, his father cared for him, and he was also committed to this asylums for the several periods. Finally, he being committed permanently after her death. in later
cognitive during the
revealed in the
third research,
2015
and then the
Einstein wrote
less supporters
to
of the
his
test
early
choice
love,
launches this
Mary Warner,
precocious
about his
type
marriage and his
equivalence, leading
still
theoretical
strong feeling
physicists
for
in
this
whom
Mary.
this unknown
1910, he
Savarkand
wrote to that,
and the
I think
Heisenberg.
of
On
you in this
29 June
heartfelt love,
1936,
and
the
very
National
separate minute
Socialist
of this aim and
Party
unhappy,
newspaper
and
published in the column
only a
attacking
man
the
can be.
Heisenberg.
While
On
in his
15
life
July
was pregnant with
1937,
their
he was attacked on the
second child,
Journal on
Einstein
SS.
spoke
This
about
was the
this
beginning
misguided love
of
and
what
this
is
missile
called the
life regarded his
Heisenberg
loves for this
affairs.
Mary. Einstein
In
married
late
the Elsa Lawrence
1936,
also.
Heisenberg presented his theory of this cosmic rays
Potential
works in
activity
the
and
two
this ground
papers, and
study of
four
this
more
Einstein
papers
theory and the
required to this
Einstein equivalence
next 2
theories
years.
of the
In June
inspiritual
1939, Heisenberg
abilities.
bought a summer homes for his family in this Alfred
The
and
target of this
Wallis, the Southern
1933
Germany.
immigrant
He
to this
also traveled
US.
to the United States
He
in
was
June and July,
immigrant to
visited the Samuel
US.
Abraham Goldwyn and the University of the Michael. However, the Heisenberg focused on the invitation on immigrant to this United States. He did not goods went against the 6 years later when this Goldsmith was the chief scientist advisor on American operations also, and that is close this World War II. Ironically, Heisenberg was arrested under the Operations Association that denied the England under the Operations Ellipses. Matrix mechanism and the Nobel Prize. Heisenberg papers established the quantum mechanics has puzzled physicists and the historian. His method assumed that reader of the family and the Cameron Heisenberg traditions, probability calculation, and the main new ideas and non-computing the matrix is justified only by the rejection of the unreservable quantities. It introduced this non-commutative multiplication of the matrix by the physical reasoning based on this corresponding principle. Despite the fact of the Heisenberg was not the familiar with the matrix theories of the matrix, this path leading of this result has been reconstructed to the Malcolms in the 1977, and the detailed the calculations are worked out in this aesthetics E at all. The comprehension Heisenberg and the Hans Cameron elaborated on papers on dispersion on the scattering from these atoms and radiation from the wavelength in the larger than the atoms. They showed that the unsuccessful formula Kramers had developed earlier could not be based on this Bohr's orbit because the transition frequencies are based on this Rebel spacings which are not constant. The frequencies which occurs in this Fourier transforms to sharp classical orbits by contrast or equally spaced, and but there is could be explained by the semi-classical virtual stock models. The incoming radiation sites and the valences, the outer electrons of the visual states from which it relate. In a subsequent paper, Heisenberg showed that the visual oscillators models could also explain the polarizations of the fluorescence radiation. These two successes and this continuing failure of the Bohr-Sommerfeld model to explain these outstanding problems of this autonomous Zeeman effect led Heisenberg to use these virtual oscillator models to try to calculate the spectral frequencies, and the method to provide the too difficult to the immediate applied to the relativistic problems. To Heisenberg turned to a simpler example and the R harmonic oscillations. The dipole oscillation consists of the similar harmonic oscillator which is thought as a change particle on the spring and perturbed to the external forces like the external changes, and this motion of the oscillator charge has been expressed as this Fourier series. In the frequency of the oscillation, Heisenberg solved for the quantum behavior of the two different methods. First, he treated the systems with a virtual oscillator method, calculating the transitions between these levels, and that would be produced by the external sources. He then solved the same problems by treating this orthotypical potential and term as these perturbations to this harmonic oscillation and using the perturbation method that is born and developed, and both methods led to the same result of the first and the very complicated second order corresponding to that. The science that behind the very complicated calculation lay consisting to them. This Heisenberg set out for formulate this result with any explicit dependent and virtually oscillator model. Do this, and he replaced the Fourier explanation for the CPL coordinated by the matrices. Matrices which corresponding to this transitions coefficient is virtually oscillating method. He justifies his placement by the appeal to the Bohr's corresponding principle and the Paul doctrine to that the quantum mechanics must be limited to the observable. On 9 July, Heisenberg gave the boards these papers and reviewed the submit for the publications, and the board read papers and he recognized the formulations as would be more transcribed and the extent to the sympathetic and language to the matrix, which has turned for his study under the Jacob Bernstein and the Bulletin University. Born with the help of the assistant to the former student, the Siku Jordans began immediately to make this transcription and extension, and they submitted their result to the publication. The papers was received the publication just 60 days after the Heisenberg paper. A float on the papers was submitted for the publication before the end of the year by all three others. Up until these times, metrics were seldom used by physicists. They were considered to be belong them, reclaim and the pure mechanisms and the Gustav's mind and used them in papers on the electrodynamics in 1912, and the Born had been used them in his work on his latest theory of the crystal in 1921. While the metrics were used in these cases, and this algebra of the metrics and their multiplications did not enter the pictures as they did the matrix formulation of the quantum mechanics. In 1928, Albert Einstein nominated this Heisenberg, Born, and the Jordans for this Nobel Prize in Physics, but it was not to be. The announcement of this Nobel Prize in the Physics in 1932 was delayed until the November 1933. It was at the time that it was announced that Heisenberg had won the prize for 1932 for the creations of the quantum mechanics, and this application of this inner area led to the discovery of the astrophysics former to the hydrogen dust physics movement. In 1st April 1935, this eminent theoretical physicist Arnold Sommerfeld, Heisenberg doctoral advisor and this University of the Munich, achieved this eminence status. However, Sommerfeld stayed in his chairs during the selection process for his successors, which took until 1 December in 1939. The process was lengthy due to the academic and potential differences between this Munich facility selection and this Reisenberg REM, Rich Education Ministry, and the support of the Dutch physicists, which anti-Semitic and this the bias was against theoretical physics and especially quantum mechanics and theory of relativity. In 1935, the Munich facilities grew up. List of the candidates replaced the Sommerfeld as the coordination professor of the theoretical physics in the head of the institution of the theoretical physics at the University of the Munich. There were the three names after this list: Werner Heisenberg, who received this Nobel Prize in Physics in 1932; Peter Debye, who received the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1936; and the Richard Bregman, at the former student of the Sommerfeld. And the Munich facility was firmly behind these candidates, with Heisenberg at their first choice, and however supported to the another field, which is a great achievement of life.